37 in Legislature in Guam. It's called back from recess. However, it appears we do not have a quorum, so we will recess again until we have a quorum. There are, if we could pan the floor. Thank you, Senators, for being here. We'll recess until we have 8 members. Thank you. We're back from recess. Just to remind everyone, we're back in second reading. We're now on Bill number 154-37 LS, as substituted by the committee. Senator Blas, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I move to accept Bill number 154-37 LS as substituted by the Committee on Human Resources, again, Revitalization, Regional Affairs, Public Libraries, Telecommunications, Technology, and Federal and Foreign Affairs, and further substitute on the floor. Introduced by myself, Senator Frank Blas Jr., and Senator Christopher M. Dueñas. It's an act to extend the fiscal year 2023 Government of Guam Group Health Insurance Plan DOA/HRD/EB-RFP-GHI-23-001 to December 31, 2023.
All right, so this is a motion to further substitute on the floor the bill that was put onto the agenda. That was the substituted by the committee version. This is to further substitute on the floor. That version is being passed out. All right, so on that motion to substitute on the floor, is there any objection? There's an objection. All in favor of accepting the substitute on the floor version, please raise your hand. Okay, wait, we're going to wait till it's all passed out. Sorry. Senator Blanc, did you want to explain the difference between the versions, or self-explanatory?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the difference in the two is obviously in the substituted version provided by the committee and the substitute first on the what we are requesting for a substitute on the floor, it provides a more expanded version of the legislative findings and intent. It gives an explanation as to what the bill, what was the impetus of the bill and the concerns. And in the bill substituted by the committee, there were several provisions in the bill that, as authors, we believe were not germane to the conversation or the discussion or the purpose for the bill. Most notably, Madam Chair, there was a reserve fund surcharge that would require that as the contracts are, the current program is being rolled over until December 31st, 2023, there will be a 7% increase to premiums. And that these premiums will be used to create a trust fund, a reserve fund, if you will, that during the public hearing and during the question was whether or not there was the ability to be able to have a fund, or is there a fund that had been created to be able to address what the medical loss ratios or ratios whereby the premiums were less than the claims. Okay? And then it provided some, I guess, direction of what should be happening over the next 3 months while this is being rolled over, that I don't think that it was in the bounds of legislative authority. We just set the policy. How they were able to enforce and how they were able to do this is something that is incumbent upon the executive branch. It presumes in it that on January 1st, 2024, that what would already be in place, we're just affirming again if it was to occur. It's not necessary. Open enrollment, that's something that should be happening, okay? That's, in the process of getting these things done, that's supposed to happen. To set the timelines the way it was being set up, basically we're telling the executive branch how to do their jobs. And so we felt that that wasn't necessary, that wasn't germane to the discussion. And so what the Senator Duanes and I had proposed in the substitute, the version we want to substitute, is just to stay within, look, fix the problems from now for the 90 days, which the administration asked for, basically said. They only have 90 days within the current contract, or a provision that provides for a 90-day rollover should there be issue. We're working within the parameters they have so that premiums don't have to go up. But then, for the legislature to say, oh, by the way, from now until December 31st, we want you, GovGuam, increase the premiums by the current premiums by 7%, to build a fund that they should have already thought about, they should have already put in place. That's what that was for. So I asked for my colleagues for their support in being able to substitute the bill so that we can stay within the topic. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. So on that motion to substitute the bill on the floor, there's been an objection. All in favor of substituting the bill on the floor, please raise your hand. Motion fails. Motion fails. So we're back on the substituted by the committee version.
Moment's recess, Madam Chair, so I can consult with my...
1 minute recess. We're back from recess. Senator Blas, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In light of the decision by the body, I want to refine my motion to move to accept Bill 154-37 as substituted by the Committee on Human Resources, Again, Revitalization, Regional Affairs, Public Libraries, Telecommunications Technology, and Federal and Foreign Affairs. Introduced by myself, Senator Frank Blas Jr., and Senator Christopher M. Duenas,
I know.
which is an act to extend the fiscal year 2023 Government of Guam Group Health Insurance Plan DOA/HRD/EB-RFP-GHI-23-001 to December 31st, 2023.
Senator, the bill has substituted by the committee. It's already accepted, so you may make a motion to place it on third
Thank you,
or
Madam.
debate it. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam. So I move then to place Bill number 154-37 LS as substituted by the Committee on Human Resources, Again, Revitalization, Regional Affairs, Public Libraries, Telecommunications, Technology, and Federal and Foreign Affairs. Introduced by myself, Senator Frank Blas Jr., and Senator Christopher M. Duenas. An act to extend the fiscal year 2023 Government of Guam Group Health Insurance Plan DOA/HRD/EB-RFP-GHI-23-001 to December 31st, 2023, into the third reading file, and I would like to be able to discuss it.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Bill 154-37 was as a result of, I guess, what was going as conversations in the community, and quite honestly within government Guam agencies, of the health care plan for the active GovGuam employees, the retirees of GovGuam, and their dependents. And the discussion was of obviously that they were going to move, well, there's a huge paradigm shift from what was traditionally the insurance plans that were offered to now what was called self-insurance. Self-insurance, Madam Chair, is, in this case, what it says is the government of Guam will now be the insurance carrier. And in being the insurance carrier, this is the government of Guam that would administer the program. There was obviously, the government of Guam had hired an actuary and consultants to be able to assist them with this. And there were, of course, presentations made to the governor on the different options. And she, in fact, chose an exclusive program, self-insurance program, to proceed with. Madam Chair, we're not arguing that point. She's got that ability to be able to do this. The concern started to arise when there are certain processes and steps that need to be taken before this program is to be set off, rolled out. And it's in these processes and in these things that need to ensure, so that we can ensure that this program, obviously there's going to be no perfect program, but this program at least had the very basics, so that when it's presented to and it's provided to the employees and to the retirees, it's good to go. Madam Chair, Speaker, in this, one of the things we started to find, and in the hearings that were provided, and I want to thank the chairperson and chairwoman of the committee for paying attention to this and to looking into this matter, that there were issues and the concerns with regards to some of the basic things. Rate plan. What was this? How much was this going to cost the employees and the retirees? What kind of benefits can they expect? Madam Speaker, what this is going to provide in this program is that right now, as we speak, there is a choice between carriers that the retirees and the active employees can choose from in the plan. Okay, two different insurance carriers. What this now program is going to do is there's going to be one carrier, the government of Guam. And in that thing, they're using a third-party administrator who allows them to use their network. Big problem, though. There is now the majority, what seems to be the majority of employees and retirees who have actually subscribed to the other plan, which does not have a contract that we know of, so that there's a continuity of services for their health care. And perhaps, then obviously in the current plan as it stands, there's a huge rate difference between one plan and another, from one carrier to another. And when we questioned the administration about what now can the employees and the retirees expect with their premiums, while they say that there's going to be one group that's going to have less, paying less for premiums, there's another group that's going to pay more. Well, then we question, thank you for telling me less and more, but give me the specifics. What is this going to cost? And in one of the conversations, ma'am, you had employees who are in a current rate plan at $2.04 a pay period as their contribution, now expecting that they should expect an increase of, from what was gathered, based on news sources, over $50 a pay period. It's a huge, And when talking to the administration, and they said, when questioned about those specific rate plans, or what these costs were going to be, when they said that it's going to cost anywhere between 3 to 4% increase, I'm sorry, but $2.04 to over $50 is not just a 4% increase. That's a huge increase. But more importantly is what are they going to get? What's the benefit? So other than the rate plan, we don't know what the benefits are. We know one can expect that the benefits from a carryover of the insurance plan or carrier who happens to be the TPA, they're going to keep their benefits. But what about the benefits that were coming, the benefits for those for the other plan? Should they expect more or less? And it's kind of interesting that when the administration put out an FAQ to be able to answer some of the questions, and one of the very basic questions was, I am currently with a current medical provider. I'm currently with this current doctor. Is moving over to this plan, will I be able to keep my doctor? The answer was, how it started? For the most part. For the most part. You want to tell that to Tana Maria? You want to tell that to an 80-year-old retiree, okay, who's been with a certain carrier, certain provider for a period of time and has developed this trust in his relationship? And now you're going to tell her that for the most part, you might be able to do this? These were some of those questions that haven't been answered. They've been asked, but they haven't been answered. Then there's the issue with regards to claims versus premiums collected versus claims. There was an aging report that was provided with regards to, right now, Guam is under self-insurance for prescription drugs and dental. And there was an aging report that was provided by the TPA for the program that was also provided to the administration. They provided this information to the administration and then to the legislature. We got a copy of it. And when you see that there are more claims than there was premiums collected, you then begin to, okay, so how do you intend to, first off, satisfy those claims, but then what kind of assurances can we get so that these claims, this same type of scenario doesn't happen when you take on the major portion of the healthcare program, which is the health. And so the question was, all right, how are you going to be able to take care of this? Well, there's a necessity to be able to get stop loss insurance. Madam Speaker, I'm going to refer to a report that that was provided to the legislature on August 18. Okay, and it's in the messages and communications file. All right, that as of August 18, they have not procured stop loss insurance. Okay, so that in the cases where the claims are higher than the premiums paid, they have a means to be able to pay this without disrupting the services, the provider services. And then when it came to the payment, who was responsible for the payment? I found very interesting when I brought up a question during the information hearing is as to prompt payment. Okay, and when the question was asked as to, okay, who's responsible, who's liable for the prompt payment? And when I had one side saying, DOA saying the third-party administrators are responsible, third party saying, no, we haven't even discussed this yet. That indicated to me that there are a number of questions that you have, processes in your own system that you're not ready for. So what this bill, Madam Speaker, intends to provide is that opportunity to be able to make sure those processes are in place before you roll this out, so that first off, the insured, those individuals that are going to be affected, the Guam employees and the retirees, they know where they can get the services from. They know how much the services are going to cost them. They know what kind of services they should expect. You're going to roll out a plan and you're not going to provide them any of this? And you're not going to give the assurances for, first off, whether there's going to be enough money to be able to pay the claims? Much less to procure it. We just finished with our budget session. And nowhere in that discussion, the budget session, was there anything about the procurement for stop-loss insurance. Where are they going to get the money for that? Oh, that's where they're going to get it. It's from the 7% that they want to be able to take off the backs of the current ratepayers. That's where they want to get it from. That from now until December 31st, they're going to want to get 7%. They're going to increase your premiums by 7%. So they can build that trust fund that was supposed to have been ready for the next one. So now you're going to have to pay for it. When were they going to tell them that? You want to tell them? Right now. People that are watching, Guam employees and retirees, they intend to increase your premiums by 7% right now. So that you can afford an additional 4 to 5% increase in your premiums next year. Transparency? Savings? How are we going to get to that? You know, Madam Speaker, so, along those lines, one of the things that, obviously, I'm sure that now with this presentation, and I'm sure that many of my colleagues in here have taken notice to a lot of this stuff, and most especially the 7%, you're going to explain to the community about the 7% increase. I wanted to take it out, but no, I was shot down. But I think that more importantly is this body deserves to hear from the administration on how they intend to roll this out and why these things exist. Again, Madam Speaker, it's within the governor's authority to be able to provide this kind of program. That's not the argument. But before we get into this kind of program, we've got to make sure that the government has the resources and the means to be able to do this. You can't even provide, like I said, the rate card. Madam Speaker, I found it kind of interesting. that by statute, they were supposed to submit a report on the progress of the health insurance procurement. They wrote and said, oh, you know what, I'm sorry. We're not able to make it on time. We're going to go past the deadline. We know how important this information is necessary for the budget, but we don't have the information yet. Why not? Why can't we tell the people that are going to be most affected by this? The employee, the retiree, and their dependents, what they can expect from a health care program that that they now own. The Gov Guam becomes the insurer. It's not the traditional traditional entities that we know of, the companies. It is the government of Guam. And if we're going to do this, it is our responsibility to make sure that they have all the resources and they've got their ducks in a row. So I think to be able to get this, Madam Speaker, I'd like to move that we resolve into the Committee of the Whole, bring in the DOA officials, Director Edward Byrne, so that we can further discuss this matter. And we can hear from them on where they're at and make the decisions from there. So I'd like to make that motion right now, Madam Speaker.
There's a motion. I recognize that motion. There's a point of information. Senator Vice Speaker.
Situ Masi, Madam Speaker. On the point of information, just a couple of facts, if I may. The findings indicate that the fiscal year benefits are the same as in fiscal year 23, except for the dental increasing to $1,500 and the HSA 2,000 floor moving up by the IRS directive. The claims, as noted earlier, aging shows that the employee, that was only the contributions by the employees, and that the findings indicate open enrollment is scheduled for later this month. And one could say that is this an opinion of one, but not the true facts. So I just want to note that for the record, and I was willing to give what the findings from the committee was, but there's a motion on the floor, so just as a point of information.
Thank you for the point of information. On the motion to resolve into Committee of the Whole, is there any objection? And to invite the Department of Administration, there's an objection. All in favor of resolving into the Committee of the Whole, please raise your hand. Motion fails. You still have the floor, Senator Blas.
Can we recess, Madam Chair? Recess, please.
1 minute recess. We're back from recess. Senator Blas, you still have some time. You're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll wait for the continued discussion on the bill. I'd like to be able to go forward my co-sponsor the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. There's been a motion to place the bill on third reading. Is there anyone who would like to speak on that motion? Senator Duenas, you are recognized.
Madam Chair, at this time, would you please have the bill as substituted by the committee distributed as the substitute was not accepted? Because my plan is to make motions during my discussion on the bill.
Could you please restate your request?
So my motion at this time, Madam Speaker, is to have the clerks pass out the as substituted by the committee version of the bill. All we have in front of us right now is what we tried to place, because during my discussions on this bill, I'm going to make motions.
Sure, that's not
bill.
a problem. I think it's on the drive. I know it's on the drive. It's been on the drive since we put it on the agenda, but we'll ask the clerks for copies, hard copies.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a 1-minute recess for hard copies, but be prepared if there's any floor amendments, please send them in. All right, while we're waiting for copies of the bill, is there anyone else who would like to speak on the bill that's been on the drive for several days now? Senator Fisher, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Speaker. I just wanted to be clear. We are speaking on the substance of the bill?
Yes, everyone will have 15 minutes to debate this bill.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I would like to associate myself, of course, with everything Minority Leader Blas said. I just have to begin my comments by noting that we just went through the budget process, which is extremely important. We do that every year. I would submit to you that this is probably the most important thing we will do during this term. We are talking about the health care, the well-being of tens of thousands of people here on Guam. The elderly, the young, people with pre-existing conditions, people with families and children who have pre-existing conditions. And while we are talking about this bill, I have to note the people of Guam need to know that more than 50% of the Democratic caucus cannot be bothered to be here today to discuss this. The people of Guam have an absolute right to know who cares about their health care. I think that this is, I almost said I think this is one of the worst ideas I've ever seen, but it's hard to say that since nobody's told me what it is we are looking at. I don't know, pursuant to this bill, who will remain in the provider network. In other words, for people who aren't up to insurance talk, I don't know whether or not St. Luke's in Manila will continue to participate when Gov Guam is the one writing the checks, almost certainly 4 to 5 months late. I don't know that Cedars-Sinai will stay in the provider network. I don't know why they would. They're a huge organization. Why would they be bothered with the administrative headache of dealing with Gov Guam's constant late payments? I don't know that the University of Southern California will stay in the provider network. Why would they? They similarly are a huge institution. Why would they be bothered with the administrative headaches of dealing with the government of Guam, who again is going to be typically, I know they will promise that won't happen, but typically they will be 3 to 4 months late paying premiums and pushing back on everything imaginable. We are just fortunate to have those off-island providers that will put up with our constant reiterating and iterating administrative incompetence is what it is. So, a gentleman earlier spoke and said that obviously we don't know what the caps on the coverage will be. We don't know the extent of the coverage. We know nothing about this. It's typically, of course, buying a pig in a poke. This is the absolute, this is an exact example of that. If I have a complaint about my carrier, the government of Guam, I don't know, none of us do, how we will work through that complaint, to whom we will complain, because we're being kept in the dark here. We don't know whether or not we will even have that possibility. Then, on top of that, while we have been barking about the rate of inflation and we want to help our schools and so forth and so on, nobody's really mentioned, except for on this floor, and I have to pat us on the head, the Republican caucus is the only one who's bothered to be concerned about the fact that a 7% surcharge is being added to the monthly bill of so many people of limited means on this island, and they're doing it because they're clearly not ready to go. They have no money in the bank to start paying for claims, and as it was observed, we don't even know if they have stop-loss coverage. I assume they don't. Stop-loss coverage is nothing more than if they don't have money to pay a claim because, I broke my foot and Gov Guam doesn't have 20 bucks to fix it. Stop-loss coverage will come in and make that possible, but we don't know that that's going to happen. And as you can imagine, a doctor who month after month finds out Gov Guam is not coming up with the money to pay for the coverage, they're going to back out. I wouldn't remain in a program where I was rendering service and not getting paid for it. It's frightening is the only word I think that can be applied to something like this. I know the young people, maybe that's why they're not here. They're younger, and they think, and many people here, well, maybe they think, the bad days won't come. I can assure them that it will rain on the just and the unjust alike. There will come a day, youngsters, when you will find that, that lump that you detected is actually malign and needs to be removed. Do you have the insurance to take care of that? When you find out that one of your dependents has leukemia, will there be coverage for that, or will your dependent, your son or your daughter, your grandchild, will they just have to come home to die because it's their time and they don't have coverage? Or they don't have coverage, competent coverage. These are the sorts of issues that arise when the government starts meddling with something so fundamental to the lives of all of us. There's an old saying that when you want to talk about somebody's Social Security, that's considered the third rail of American politics. That's the electrified rail. You touch it, you die. You get shocked to death. Messing with health insurance is not dissimilar to that. There are so many people, like myself, who are starting to age out, who look to the carrier, look to the provider of insurance hopefully with confidence, but with a constant state of worry. Will they cover this? Perhaps they will. Can I go to St. Luke's in Manila where they have an expert to take care of it? I have no idea. Can I go to Cedar Sinai? Can I go to the University of Southern California? Don't know. As far as I know, how many oncologists do we have on this island? One? Maybe. But our providers right now will pay for off-island treatment. Is that going to continue into the future? I don't know. I hope we are able to stop this. I was just looking on the computer here. The telephone number for the governor's office is 472-8931 through 6. 472-8931 through 6. If you've heard that number, please call and register your opinion with the governor of Guam. It may be one of the most important phone calls you will make for yourself and your dependents. I'll repeat myself again and again. We're talking about something fundamental to our ability to enjoy our life here on Guam, and that is the provision of health care. There's a lot that can be said about health care for those who have coverage right now and those who unfortunately are, because of financial circumstances, are precluded from something which is so fundamental that can actually and rightfully be called a human right to have adequate health care. I'm gonna shut up here. I just have to say how just incredibly disappointing it is that as I look around this room, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I see, I counted her. Thank you, Vice Speaker. I see so many empty desks. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're tired because of the 3-week budget drill. But, this is the time to get to the barricades. This is a time to get out of bed. This is a time to put down your cereal bowl and get down here to the legislature. This is an extraordinarily important thing we're doing today. Extraordinarily important. I'd like to commend my friends, Senator Blas and Senator Duenas, for trying to do something to protect us from this impending catastrophe. A moment ago, we just tried to get into the committee of the whole so we could bring down Ed Byrne and ask him, what's up? What's the coverage going to look like? What's the rate card going to look like? Why do you need the 7%? Well, because you don't have the money to pay off. I mean, there's the tell. There's the tell, Madam Speaker. They don't have the money to pay the first claim right now. That's why they're having to tax. That's why they're raising the tax, raising this tax, 7%. I promised to shut up earlier, and I'll do it now, but please, let us think very carefully about what we're doing. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Duenas, you're recognized.
Sidros Masi, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to say that I am in favor of Bill 15437 as amended on the floor, but I can't say that because that version was not accepted. So I will say, unfortunately, unless what I'm about to propose happens, I cannot support the bill as substituted by the committee. So, Madam Speaker, simply put, and I want to associate myself with the opening remarks from the good Senator Blas and the very eloquent and astute remarks by Senator Fisher preceding. But, Madam Speaker, even just Section 3 in this bill is a poison pill. It's by design. Any of us in this room that want to tax premiums, as my good friend just said, Senator Fisher, this is an outright admission that We don't even need Department of Administration anymore. This is an outright admission that they can't afford to do this. So, Madam Chair, at this time, I move to strike the entirety of Section 3 in this bill as substituted by the committee.
All right. There's a motion to strike Section 3 of the bill. On that motion, is there anyone who'd like to be recognized? There is an objection. Is there anyone who'd like to discuss the motion? Anyone? Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. You know, I hadn't decided coming here this morning whether or not I was going to vote on this bill. What I did know that I needed to know, what I very much believe many of our people in our community that rely on government insurance, which are all our employees, pretty much most of our employees, unless they maybe have a spouse who has another insurance program that's more preferable to them. And certainly to our retirees, of which I'm one, and there are many of our retirees out there certainly that retired many years before I did, who are dependent on their health care and their health care insurance, and certainly as Senator Tom Fisher, you know, very eloquently relayed, I mean, that's the reality of life as we get older. You know, we go from annual physicals and our doctors are telling us everything's looking good, and then as time goes on, even for the best of the healthiest of us who, you know, follow our recommendations, try to keep your weight down, don't drink, don't eat more than you need to. Age just has a way of creeping up on you, whether you like it or not. It's inevitable. Very few people are able to escape that process. But when I see this bill here, and again, there's so much I myself have questions about. I mean, normally we have this committee every year that gets together and recommends, you know, which health insurance plan we're going to pursue. We've been through years here where we only are going to support one carrier. Then we open up to more carriers and you have more options. And, you know, every beginning of the fiscal year, you get to go and decide which plan you want. Do you want to change? Do you want to switch? Whatever. This is your deadline and life goes on and this is your rate. And in the past, the rates were not so bad, so you really didn't notice how much was being taken out of your check every 2 weeks. You just said, well, it's a necessity of life, it's critical, maybe today I'm feeling good, but who knows what could happen tomorrow? Or what could happen to my dependents that, you know, depend on me for health care? What could happen to them? So when all this recent announcement came out about government self-insurance, even I had to raise my eye. What exactly is that? What does that mean? Because dollars to donuts, people I've talked to, and even myself, am I comfortable enough of putting my health care in the hands of the government of Guam? You know what the resounding answer is? Not just no, but hell no. What exactly does that mean? Because there's so much the government really doesn't do very effectively. But is that what this means? I don't know. But my good colleagues, a few of the majority that are not, you know, that are here, objected to having the Director of Department Administration come down here this morning and provide answers not just to us, but the thousands of our people out there that are dependent on government insurance so that they understand what it means. That's really what this is all about. And when you deny the ability to get information out to the public, what does that tell us? What does that tell the people? Yeah, we've been here for weeks. We've been here beyond, 3.5 weeks. We've been here probably 5 or 6 straight weeks. I don't know if I've ever been in the legislature for 7 straight weeks, day after day after day. And yeah, I don't know why our other colleagues, the majority of the majority is not here this morning on something that probably out of everything we've done during this time since June has the most direct impact to every government of Guam employee and retiree that is engaged with the government retirement program. Because we don't know what the rate card is, which I'm telling you is something that our retirees in particular, who already have had to pay a higher rate. Isn't that the irony? When you need the health care the most, your rate is, and probably have the least amount of income in your life, your rate is going to be higher. And now the question is, how much higher? And then how much higher are they going to pay on top of that, plus an additional 7% that's being added here, this reserve fund surcharge. I don't even know what the definition is. I don't see it in the bill. What is a reserve fund surcharge? Maybe, Madam Speaker, if I can ask the chair of the committee, is there anyone here that can answer what is a reserve fund surcharge? Can I ask the chair of the committee?
Are you asking her to yield?
Yes, I
Would
don't know.
the chair of the committee yield, would you yield to that question, Vice Speaker?
If you can give me a moment, Madam Speaker, a moment's recess so that I can get the
Sure.
pertinent answers. Thanks.
1 minute recess.
Thank you.
back from recess. Vice Speaker, you had yielded to a question. You are recognized.
I'll try my best, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on the question asked previously, the Department of Administration Division of Accounts maintains accounts for medical and dental premiums and uses these accounts to pay claims. So,
Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Well, if I understand, certainly I appreciate her responding. I'm still at a loss. Okay, so they maintain an account. What is a reserve fund surcharge? It says here, each premium amount charged in fiscal year 2023 that is extended by this act for a period of October 1st, 2023 till December 31st, 2023, shall be added to it a 7% increase. The increase shall be a reserve fund surcharge and shall be collected and deposited into the trust accounts of either medical and pharmacy or dental. Can I ask another follow-up question? Who's paying the 7% increase, Madam Speaker? It doesn't say. Is this going to be charged to the employees and retirees? And what is it going to be used for?
Would the chairperson of the committee yield to that question?
from my understanding, Madam Speaker, is the employees pay a premium, the government pays a premium, it's paid to the, when a claim comes in, the third-party administrator pays the claims. So the government pays their part, we pay our part, then it goes to the TPA. Claims come in, it gets distributed from there.
Again, I just need a clarification. Is this so? This additional 7% is going to be charged to the employees and the retirees? I just want to make it clear. I mean, this is foreign to me. This reserve fund surcharge. I understand the government of Guam pays its share and the employees pay their share, but is this on top of what they're going to be charged already for their insurance premiums? I just want clarification. I think everybody does.
Are you asking the
Yes, I'm still asking the same question. Who's paying this? Is this 7%?
Vice Speaker, would you yield to the question?
Who's paying the 7%?
Madam Speaker, I'm not a part of the negotiating team, but I'm going to try. The 7% was built in fiscal year 24 premiums. If the postponing of the start date were to go through, this would short the amount of premiums collected. The impetus of us being here today is to make sure that any form of self-insurance is adequately funded and does not shortchange our subscribers. The committee did this to ensure that the concerns raised, which was building up a reserve, this was brought by those who testified with concerns, and that's my take. I want to say that I'm not here to tax our working families. I'm accepting the reality that we will be short of funds if this happens, and if you want to take it out, let me know what you want to replenish the losses. And that was the impetus of why this provision was put in.
Senator Brown, you're recognized.
Thank you to the chair for responding. You know, Madam Speaker, I mean, we know we have this, secret little government committee that gets together every year to do the negotiations, and they're sworn to secrecy and all these other things with regards to these discussions. And somewhere, somehow, odds are fairly good. One thing increases every year is the rate our people pay for insurance cost. But if there's an expectation that they get to go in this little secret committee and make decisions and then come back out and say, oh, by the way, senators, you statutorily need to change this into law, well, then I guess that's where their jurisdiction ends and ours begin as to whether or not this is agreeable. Maybe the answers are out there, but the fact that our colleagues here refuse to have Department of Administration come in today and respond to questions like, what is the rate card? What is this going to cost us so people can calculate what that increase is going to be? Madam Speaker, I know employees in this government, believe it or not, that pay close to $1,000 a month for health insurance because of their dependents, that get the higher end insurance to make sure they have access to all the specialists that they need. Take $1,000 out of your check at $55,000 a year or less, and tell me how much does that leave you to live? This is really a critical issue, and the fact, my colleagues, that we cannot get direct answers to direct questions at this point, especially something that is involving such a significant change. Maybe the change is good, maybe it's not. We don't know because we can't ask questions to get information. The fact that you, my fellow colleagues, have blocked that process publicly, it's very disturbing. And yet, we're just simply going to add the cost, and the people of Guam are going to have to bear, well, at least in this case, directly the employees and the retirees, our beloved retirees that we sit and praise here all the time. And they're just going to have to eat it. And too bad, so sad. And that's what we're left with, because we still have colleagues that don't have the time of day to show up to session on something this important today that we're deliberating that really now directly affects. There's so much stuff we've deliberated all these many, many weeks, I think since June. They're not going to feel that as directly as they're going to feel the impact of what their insurance is, and we still don't have specific numbers at this point. There's nothing wrong with clarifying if this is such a grand idea, and I'm not necessarily an objection to it, but I would like information on it. Because I myself am also a subscriber to our insurance program. I have a dependent that I have to worry about even more than myself to make sure that if my child needs medical care, that's going to be available to him. So for us to walk in the blind, and it tells me, man, that our deal's already cut, decisions already made, and we're just not going to deliberate it, that everyone else now is just going to come in and show up as time to vote. And that's it. And the train will go on. And the heck with the rest of us, because you'll have no choice but to have this imposed on you, and you just pay out the money and shut up. This is not how our government should operate. I know we have responsible insurance companies here that certainly want to provide their service, and we certainly want to get that service. How we get that service, what it's costing our people, those to me are very legitimate questions that we don't have answers to. And an informational briefing in and of itself, to me, is not formal enough to do that. We should be able to do that on the floor of this legislature. My colleagues in the majority that are blocking this process, un dia. I love our Chamorro language, man. I wish I was more fluent in it. But there's so much meaning in those two words, In time. In time. Because we make these kind of irresponsible decisions when we have power, huh? We just sit back and Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. Again, I'm very concerned about how this process is moving along.
Madam Speaker, I rise to make a motion.
Just a minute.
On
Senator Brown.
On a point of
Concluded,
information. On a point of information, Madam Speaker.
Point of information.
Ma'am, my motion has privilege. I'm moving to call the House. It is a privileged motion. There is a quorum present. I would ask that the doors be closed. You call roll call to discern who is present and who is not, and verify who is not present and have them arrested. This question
There's a motion for call of the House. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion fails.
Passes.
Vice Speaker, you had a point of information?
Yes, Madam
Please,
Speaker.
please say your point of information.
On the point of information, based on the insurance negotiating team, this process has gone through with the whole government of Guam involved, maybe except for one of the branches of government that is on its own. There are representatives from every part of the government of Guam. And I want to state for the record, if anyone wants to reconsider calling some folks in, I state for the record, I don't have a problem with that. But to say that we're hiding information and all that, I disagree. The government of Guam, a part of this negotiating process, is being represented by all the different parts of the government. So
Thank you for your point of information. On the motion to delete Section 3 of the bill, I'm sorry, but Senator Parrott, did you have your hand up? Or Senator Blas, you're recognized on the motion to delete Section 3.
It's budget, but we don't want to treat it like one anyway, so. Madam Speaker, I rise in support of the amendment to strike and delete Section 3 of this bill. And, you know, just based on the information that was shared, you know, with regards to why the 7%. So they were going to charge no matter what. No matter what whether it begins, you know, the self-insurance program begins on October 1st or it gets moved to December 31st, they were going to charge 7% on top of what you would pay for your medical premiums. Wow! Where's the camera? You know, they're going to charge you an additional 7% to make up for what they failed to provide. I didn't talk about you. Okay?
Please, yeah, continue.
Okay. That's what this bill says. You know? And it's questions like that we need the answers for. I'm going to reiterate, Madam Chair, Speaker. This is not about the governor's decision to go self-insurance. We want to abide to that. But along those lines, we have to ensure, it is our responsibility to ensure as best we can that before it starts, we've got our ducks in a row. There's statute that says to create a reserve fund. But was there? And now that you need it, now that it's necessary, you're going to put it on the backs of the people right now? Besides that, how do you do that? How do you add an additional 7% at this stage of the game to something that is in existence, that you've already agreed to, that you signed a contract for? How do you do that? You know, one of the things is on this floor, you try to make lemonade out of the lemons you get. And, you know, so that's what we're trying to do here. It's being able to dissect this program at this stage before it starts, before it falls apart before us. Because if this fails, if we don't do our diligence and this program fails, this is not a matter of not being able to go to school, not being able to open a school, not being able to fix a road. not being able to drink the water, this is a matter of life and death. That's what this is about. And I apologize if I had offended anybody, but how else do you read this? Let me read it again. Reserve fund surcharge. Each premium amount charged in fiscal year 2023 that is extended by this act for the period of October 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2023 shall have added to it a 7% increase. This increase shall be a reserve fund surcharge and shall be collected and deposited into the trust accounts for either medical and pharmacy or dental. So you were going to create the trust account on the backs of the people before you start a program. And then, had this not happened, it exposes it. You were going to charge them anyways. You're going to charge them now. We're going to do that? Not me. I stand in opposition to this section. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. On the motion to delete Section 3 of the bill, anyone else would like to be
Madam
recognized?
Speaker, if I may, on the motion I'd like to make a motion to reconsider the actions of the body to go into the committee of the whole.
There's a motion to reconsider the actions of the body. All in favor of reconsidering, please raise your hand.
There's no objection, Madam Speaker, to that. Okay.
All in favor, please, of reconsidering, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reconsideration motion passes. So on the motion to go into the committee of the whole and bring Director Byrne into the body, the hall, is there any objection? There's an objection. All in favor of that motion to go into committee of the whole, please raise your hand. Motion carries.
Thank you. It's lunchtime, Madam Speaker.
Yeah,
Motion
so we
to
will
recess.
resume at 2 p.m. We'll contact
call the
the
members in.
Director Byrne. All right. Okay, so we'll recess until 2 p.m. and we will go into the committee of the whole. The chairperson of the committee will preside. That will be the Vice Speaker.